the miracle that we were hoping for, of finding Faith alive and well. We've recovered her body along the banks of the Verde River about 3 hours ago. Having said that, I'm just going to make a couple of overarching comments about I'm completely in awe of this community. You know, the word community is often, I think it's almost cliche in some instances these days. I can tell you for a fact that community is alive and well in Cottonwood. Community is alive and well in the Verde Valley, and community is alive and well in Yavapai County. The teamwork of our professional team, I could spend all night speaking so highly of the individuals that were so dedicated to bringing Faith home, to provide some level of solace to their family. If you're a parent, it's still difficult to imagine the pain that Faith's family is going through. Our hearts and prayers go out to the entire Moore family. Having spoken to them several times, I can tell you that they know very well the fabric of this community is very strong. They saw it. So all the volunteers that are out there, I thank you personally. The gentleman behind me, thank you. I cannot express our gratitude for the dedication and the efforts that came together to enable us to achieve this small miracle today. The volunteers, the search that helped search, the logistics people, the contractors, the vendors, the citizens, the list goes on and on. The list goes on and on. I'll leave it at that. I can't comment any further on that. It's just astounding, the level of support, and we're very appreciative. I do not have the statement from the family. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce and inject our operations commander, Chris Dowell, D-O-W-E-L-L, who is an integral part of this team. But before I do, I want to send a special thanks to Sheriff Rhodes and certainly the Sheriff's Search and Rescue team and all of his personnel. This is what they're trained to do. They do it very well. Without them, we would not be here tonight. So we thank them from the bottom of our heart. Commander Dowell.
Good evening. I was probably number 5 or 6 on scene. I was pretty close behind, and I've been out here from the beginning. And I'll tell you this, there's no way that Faith would have been found without the community. The community is the one who brought it together. I've worked with a lot of great teams throughout my career, and this team is top notch. This is one of the best teams I've ever worked with. So between the team and the community, couldn't have been done without you. Great job. Great job. That's what this family needed. The family's given me a statement, and I'd like to read it. Chris and Katie wish to thank all the family, friends, public safety, and community that have been with us relentlessly to bring Faith home. The love, prayers, and support has been overwhelming and appreciated. Humbly, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Faith is now home. Thank you.
Thank you guys all for coming out again this evening. I just want to start by saying, from the initial call that our crews responded that night to the initial engine company that came there to today, the amount of people, the amount of resources, the amount of love, the amount of care that's been put into this search effort has been overwhelming. It's been an amazing outpouring to be a part of. The resources that the Sheriff's Department has provided for us has been beyond anything I could imagine, and I'm eternally grateful for them. I'm eternally grateful for my community, and at this time I'm going to hand it off to Sheriff Rhodes, and I will be back to answer any other technical questions you guys may have.
Good evening. I am Sheriff David Rhodes, Yavapai County Sheriff David Rhodes, and after 27 years in this business, I never have anything good to say in times like this. This is very difficult. Very, very tragic ending. We have nothing but condolences for the family of Faith Moore, for everybody else, for the community of Cottonwood. I would like to say just a couple of things that I don't think get enough notice or recognition, which is the amount of community support that we saw for this search and this rescue. People didn't believe for a minute that this would ever be the outcome, even as the minutes ticked on, and we appreciate that they stuck with it. No expense was spared in this operation. Everybody here locally, Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, Search and Rescue Volunteers, the National Guard, U.S. Border Patrol, Search and Rescue teams from Gila County, Maricopa County, all over the place came. Over 580 Search and Rescue volunteers came for this operation. And that's their dedication, is to make sure that one way or another, Faith came home, and we're grateful for them, for the work that they did. Be glad to take any questions. I really don't have a bunch else to say, but I appreciate you all turning out, and I appreciate the community for the work that they did, and more than anything, for the volunteers and our staff that never gave up. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Was it volunteers that found her body, or was it sheriff's deputies or officials?
There were sheriff's deputies that found the body, and Cottonwood police officers that were there, Sedona police officers, but everybody's assigned an area to search, and they go search. So it could have been anybody that found her.
Do you know how far away from her car her body was found today?
I don't have an exact estimate, but Danny knows. How far?
Faith was located along the side of the Verde River, down on the side of the Verde River, so away from the car, out of the wash, into the river area.
Was it near where the car was, or was it,
It was away from where the car was. Yeah, it was on the shore of the Verde River.
Talk about, the amount of hours that you put in, because even, the updates that you've been giving the community, you were working well into the night, you never stopped, so, the amount of hours and the coverage.
Yeah, it's never stopped. So the hours are from start to finish. This has gone on round the clock, 24 hours a day, until we completed our mission.
Can you speak as far as the emotional toll this took on not only the officers, the volunteers, everyone who was searching for days and then locating portions of the body?
Yeah, obviously it's an emotional toll. There is a lot that goes into this. We are engaged, we are committed to this, and we are emotionally attached to this search round the clock as well. And the men and women behind me that put in the hours, that put in the sweat, and put in the tears, that's their commitment to this search.
Can you talk about the difference here in the fact that Faith actually called herself for help, and you guys could see her assumably through that window from the car from afar? I think in a lot of these situations, it's usually you guys get a call for somebody out there, but it's not the person calling themselves. Did that add a layer of emotion and a critical nature to that call because of that?
Well, I mean, we just responded to the call. We had no emotional tie at that time. We respond to all the calls. We respond to every call with the same urgency. We respond to every call with the same level of commitment, whether they have a connection to the public safety family or not. We respond to everybody with that same commitment and that level of commitment.
Can you what were the difficulties that you guys were dealing with during this search, Oscar?
Yeah, so like I've been kind of given in the morning updates, the river's been changing every day. We went on the night of the incident, the Verde River was flowing about 10,000 cubic feet per second. Today, it was flowing around 700. So like I've been given in my morning updates and our updates throughout the week, as the river subsides, it's allowing us to have access to more areas to search. That's why we were still concentrated in these highly probable areas throughout the duration of this search, because every day we were getting access to new areas to continue our search for faith.
Do you still need to positive ID, or you've gone through that?
The family has positively ID'd her.
Hey, can you just go back and just kind of, what was that call, and what happened the night that, you know, for people that might not know,
So,
what happened?
yeah, the initial call was a car in a low water crossing during that flash flood.
And so she called, and then you guys came
Yeah,
out?
she called 911 and we responded with Cottonwood PD as well as Cottonwood Fire.
Today, who exactly was there whenever the body was found and recovered? Was that volunteers, or was that, you know, actually law enforcement officials?
Once we found Faith, we had our trained personnel coordinate efforts, and we all went in there as a team like we've been operating this entire time and made sure that we gave her the respect that she deserves.
Obviously, this is, you know, we're still in the monsoon right now. What would you like to tell people, you know?
It's our continual message. We just like to tell people to just be wary of the running waters, and as this community knows, there's a river that runs year-round. Just be smart and be wise when you're operating in the rivers, and protect yourselves and make sure that you know what you're doing when you're getting in these rivers, and understand the dangers of these flash floods.
How strong and forceful was the river that night? Because I know someone had mentioned that there was no way that she would have, you know, survived because it was so strong. And I heard even law enforcement, a canine officer, you know, had been swept a little bit. So talk about, you know, that night and how dangerous it was, how, you know.
Yes, so that night we had about, like I had said earlier in the week, we had about 3 inches of rain in under an hour. Initial reports were that there was about 2 feet of water in that low water crossing. At the height of that event, it got up to 8 feet. We had public safety personnel, police and fire, out there doing what they do, trying to effect a rescue, trying to effect all the rescues that were going on at one time. And sometimes our public safety people, they put themselves in that way. And one of the officers did get into a low water crossing trying to effect a rescue, and fortunately he's okay, but that's sometimes the risk we have to take. If you would like to add anything to that, sir.
Our canine officer was one of the first ones to arrive on scene. The information that we had was that she was off of a different road about a half mile beyond where Faith actually was. He responded to actually where she was, realized he couldn't get across, went to another area thinking he could get across. The water appeared to be very shallow, and it was until about 2/3 across. About 2/3 across is when it dropped about 18 inches to 2 feet. Once that occurred, the vehicle was swept downstream, and if it wasn't for the grace of God and a couple of rocks on the edge of it, it caught him and it nearly rolled the vehicle over. The vehicle was probably at about a 40% tilt. From there, the Cottonwood Fire Department effected a rescue on the canine and on the canine officer, and from there we went. I can tell you that the water was so great where Faith was that we couldn't get vehicles across it, and we actually had to use an armored vehicle to get across it. We call it an MRAP. It's one of our SWAT vehicles, but it sits very high and it weighs a lot. So we were able to effectively use that to shuttle fire personnel to the other side of the wash and ferry firemen over there so they could attempt a rescue and to start the immediate search. So that tells you how great the water was and such.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Thanks goes to you, media, as well, for helping us in this search for faith. So I appreciate it. And thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you.